Next, we're going to talk about the basic equipment that you need to do canning, no matter what kind of canning you need. Your first thing you're going to need is your jars. Now, you can buy jars in cases like this from the grocery store or from Walmart, or you can get them individually or even in cases at garage sales and estate sales. A lot of different sizes. This one in particular is a quart jar. The next three are pint jars. They all hold a pint of food. The difference in them is, of course, the shape that you can see, and the other difference is the wide mouth and the standard or narrow mouth. I prefer the wide mouth jars. They're much easier to load things into. You can get your hand in them to put stuff in or to take things out. The narrow or standard mouth jar is much smaller. As you can see, this is a wide mouth ring and that standard jar lid. It's much smaller. It's good for a lot of things, particularly if you're going to do liquids or sauces or things of that nature. These are good. But most of the things that I do, I want the wide mouth instead. We have our jars. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to need some measuring equipment because you're going to have to prepare your food to be canned. This is a liquid measurement cup. It goes from 0 to 2 cups, and these are dry measuring cups. And they are 1 cup, 1/3 cup, and 1/4. I'm sorry, 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4. You're going to need these when you're preparing your food. Now let's say we've got our food all prepared and it's in a pan right here on the stove beside us. We have all of our jars clean. They have been sterilized. I sterilized mine by putting them in a 200-degree oven for 20 minutes. You can also use the sterilizing setting on your dishwasher if you have one. Take each jar from the oven one at a time using a jar lifter. Take it out and you set it on your counter just like this. You would need a canning funnel. This protects your jars and your food. You set it down into the jar and you take your ladle. You go to the pan and you scoop the food you're going to put in it. Come over here and you pour it in. Now this ladle is specifically made for handling food for canning, and it has pour spouts on both sides and at the end. So no matter whether you're right-handed or left, whether you're coming from it from the front or from either side, you have a way to pour it. It doesn't spill all over everything. Your jar is now full. You take your funnel off and set it aside, and you come to this tool. This is called a lid lifter. It's a dual-purpose tool. You have a thin end and you have the round end. Your thin end is what you're going to need next. Once you have all of your food in the jar, you're going to need to remove the excess bubbles. You take your plastic lid lifter and you slide it down into the jar all the way around, going like this so that you can release those air bubbles. I also usually do it a couple of times in the center. Once your jar has been debubbled, as they call it, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to wipe the rims with vinegar and paper towels to be sure they're clean. You're going to go to your bowl of hot water where your lids are, and you're going to use the magnetic end to lift your lid. You set it right down on top of the jar like that, and you take your ring and slide it over the top and down. You remove the lid lifter at this point, and you will tighten it down until it's fingertip tight. Fingertip tight is where it's close enough that it slides like that. You've got it filled, you've got it clean, you've got the lid on. You will then take your jar lifter again and lift up by going under the little rim and gripping the jar, and you will lower it into your canner. You will load all of your jars into your canner, put the lid on, and process it according to your recipe. When the processing is finished and it's cooled down enough, you reach back in and you lift your jar out with the lifter, and you take it over and you set it on a towel in a draft-free place for it to cool. Before you walk away, you will need hand protection. This is a silicone hand protector. You can use a dish towel, a pot pad, or any number of other things. I lift the jar up and place it in my hand like this so that I've got it good and tight. And then I tighten down the lid so that I'm sure it's completely closed and tight. Then I set it back down and allow it to cool. Here we are, and that's what we do. Now next I'll be back with the specific canning. Thanks, and hang on, I'll be back.